Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I'm going to show you how we implemented MVC structure and session-based login in our Web Technologies project. Here, as you can see, this is our project, a simple ramen house. We focused more on the implementation and requirements of the project, and this is a pretty basic and simple project to start with. So first I'll take you to the login section. So here you can see we can register here with our email and passwords. However, I have already registered some accounts and I will show you by logging with them. So here you can see this is the email I have already registered, and now I'm using it to log in to the website or log into the ramen house. So after logging in, here you can see it's showing the name and profile over here. So this is basically the implementation of session, where during the login process a session ID was generated and the user information were saved in a session variable. Slowly, I will take you through all the steps, how we implemented them. So I will just go back and show you the login again. So during the login process, here you can see this is my front end part, the view of the project I'm being shown. So the requirement of our project was to implement MVC structure. Though our whole project doesn't follow the whole MVC structure, but some part of it follows the MVC structure. And one of them is this login and registration panel. So during login, this is the view part or the front end part that are being shown to the user. So here you can see a view folder here. Now when I'll enter the values for login in, and when I press this login button, this is a form, and this form will be submitted to my controller. So the controller handles all the logical parts of the program. The view handles the front end part of the project. Lastly, model handles all the database queries. So from my front end view, when I place this request here from login, the user is trying to log in. So the system should verify his email and password is correct or not. For that, he has to place a query in the database as well to check the values. However, the queries isn't placed or called directly. First, when the form is submitted, this is sent to the controller, and the controller handles some logical parts. Then from the controller sends the data to the model to make the queries, and after the query is placed or the query is returned, the model returns the data to the controller again. Then if the values are valid and the right user email and right password is being placed, then the controller again sends the response back to the view. Then we can see a new panel over here. So I have placed the email and the password. So after placing the login, first request will be placed to the controller. Then controller will handle some logic and he will place a request, or he will call the model for the queries, and after the queries execution the model will return the queries to the controller again, and then if it's valid we can see this new view where the controller returns back to the view. So this is just an explanation. I'm going to show step by step how we implemented them. So first let's see the code of the login. So here you can see the login panel. This is my form, login form. So when the user press this login button, the request is placed to this controller, which is user login controller. So let's see what is in the user login controller. Here you can see we are in the user login controller, and first it checks the request that has been placed here was post or get or anything else. If the method is post, then it calls the login user function. So now what's in the login user function? So the data we sent from here was email and the password. So with the post super global, using the post super global, we are storing these values in a variable. So if no values were sent, we simply just write no keys in the variables. Then we trim the email values, or trim the white spaces, so that if user has mistakenly have put in some space while typing the email, that doesn't make a problem over here. Then you can see the user data variable. So a function is being called here, which is login student. Now this login student is a function from the model. So here you can see we have no query related or any database things over here. We have included the model over here, and for this particular task, user login model. Now let's see what's in the user login model, and as well as the login student function. So we are passing the email and the password in this login student function. So here is my user login model, and you can see the login student function here as well. So this is just a basic query which is placed to my database to find the student, where email equals to the email that has been sent from the function, or which was sent from here, this email. Now the SQL query returns a result. So we check that did the query returned any result or not. So if it returned any result, we just simply return the user here. So user data now holds the user, so which is basically a row from the MySQLi database. And here are some exceptions handling, but which doesn't include any output or any statement yet. So this is just to show the process. Now this user is sent user data, or the row is sent over here. It's user data. So we check if there was a user data or not. If there is user data, we verify the password. So this is the password. This is the password. And the user data had a password as well. So password verify is a function which matches the password with the user data hash password. Now if the password matches, or if it returns true, we generate a new session for the user who logged in, and the session variable user, we hold their data, and then we return back to our view. So this time we're going to the index.php page. So the process just I showed you. First, from the view, the request is sent to the controller. Controller handles these logical parts and everything, and then from the model it fetches some data and further verifies the inputs. So this structure of MVC, you can see it's too much clean and easily manageable. So we know the this the database part is being handled inside the model. The logical parts are being handled inside the controller, and all the front end part is being handled in the registrations or the view parts. So this was a basic structure of our MVC that we followed. So we can I'll just briefly show you the model structure. So here you can see inside this view we have these folders. So we started from this registration.php. So from that view, the request was sent to the controller. Here you can see there are a lot of controllers, but for this particular task, the request was sent to this user login controller. Here, this user login controller handled all the logical parts, and then user login controller had to fetch some data for that. So the data was fetched from the model here, user login model. So model returned the data, controller verified the data, and he returned back to the view again. So this is the basic structure of the model, view, and controller that I just showed you. Hope it was helpful, and you can also implement this in your upcoming projects. So this session variable we stored here the last time, the ID, user, username, and password. So using this username session, the user session variable, we just showed this name and the other details inside this profile over here. So this was all about the MVC.